Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Pinky Hooks. I'm Shania Lancaster. Happy Friday Eve, everyone. I'm so glad that you guys could tune in and sit with me as I talk a little bit. It might turn into a rant. I feel like it will. But I think you guys are going to rant along with me when y'all hear what this topic is about. It's not even, I don't know if it's a topic. It can turn into a topic. But whatever the case is, I'm going to talk about it. So before we get started, please do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up. And remember what I tell y'all, if y'all don't like it at the end, you can take the thumbs up back, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I want to tell y'all what happened to me Monday night. So just like tonight, I was getting ready for, football. Y'all know I love football. And I was just like, oh, I need some snacks. I need to run to the store. Let me tell y'all something. Pinky Hooks does not like coming out in the dark. I really, really don't. I'm just like this. I'm just weird. I'm a scaredy cat. And even though I can just jump in my cars in the garage, but I'll be like, I'm not really good with the night vision, and the glasses and everything or whatever. But nevertheless, it's like I feel like I shouldn't be out in the dark. That's what I just feel. I feel like I am not a person of the night like I used to be in my 20s and 30s, where I was just like, yeah, it's dark, let's go out. Not me. When that sun sets, it's like a vampire movie. I need to be in the house, close the shades and everything else until sunrise come back up. Nevertheless, I have to tell y'all that. I decided to go out, and I do live in a gated community. So I was exiting the gate, like the back gate, to like go out into the night, And by each gate, if you live in a gated community, usually there's a call box. And that's when, delivery people, they got to put in the codes or whatever. And, I was about to drive out, and I could see this shadowy figure, and I'm like, wait, why are they, like, they're not in the car. Why are they just standing there? And I started thinking, you know what? Maybe it's one of the residents. They forgot their code or their pass so they could go through the gate. Like, people like to leave and go walking, And that's what I thought. But, when you leave out of the gate, you have to exit real slow. So I'm driving, exiting real slow. And it was fairly warm here in Texas on Monday. So I had the window down, maybe a quarter way, and all of a sudden that figure starts walking up to my car. And I was about to panic when I realized as they got closer that it was a kid. And so us turning back the clocks, it just gets, y'all know it gets dark between 5 and 5:30. Sometimes, depending on where you're at, sometimes it start getting dark at 4:50. Whatever the case was, by that time it was dark, because I think it was like maybe like 6 o'clock. And this little kid comes over. Now, it was a young boy, and I'm going to assess this boy. I would say that he probably was like, he wasn't 13 yet. I would say he was between the ages of 10 and 12. And, if I had got out of my car and stood next to him, this kid, I would just be a little bit taller than him. And I'm giving you this description so that y'all understand where I'm coming from as I tell you this story. So the kid, he approaches my car. Now, I could see that he had something in his hand. It almost looked like, how you make banana nut bread or zucchini bread, they're in loaves, and he looked like he had like something like that wrapped up in cellophane. So in my mind, I'm thinking, excuse me, maybe this kid is selling something, and he needed to get into the community so he could go from door to door. But that wasn't it. He was just like, ma'am. I said, what's wrong? And he goes, can you give me a ride down the street near the park to the apartment complexes? Now, where I live at, right, there's a dog park on one side, and then there's a normal park that is huge, y'all, at the other end of the road. And then there is a road, like winding and hilly roads, nothing but apartment complexes. I mean, nothing but. And I looked at him, and I think for for a second, I was stunned that some little random kid is going to walk up to my car. It is dark, you know, and maybe he felt safe to approach me, especially being that, you know, I'm a female or whatever. I looked right at that kid. Like, it just came out. I said, honey, no, I can't. I said, I can't let a kid get in my car. He was just like, please. And I'm like, no. I said, I'm sorry, honey. I said, that's not a good idea. I can't let a kid in my car. And he was just like, oh. And soon as that happened, like when I first came to the gate, there was nobody behind me. But because I spent some time exiting the gate, you know, someone else that lived in the community, they were rolling out. And so he starts backing away and he's looking around, and I saw it looked like he was going to the car behind me. So me, you know, I'm on the phone, you know, driving, you know, I have my Bluetooth on, so don't be coming for me. Y'all be like, Johnny, you be texting and drive? No, I don't text and drive. I don't play that. But I was telling my friend, you know, whenever I leave, because, you know, I'm by myself, I like to tell someone like, hey, I'm going here, I'm going there. So somebody has an idea of where I was last seen or where I was last heading to. So I'm calling my friend. I'm like, yo, I was just like, this kid approached me, and I tell them the full entire story. And my friend was just like, oh, well, I mean, maybe he needed help. You know, I hope don't nothing happen to him. And now in my mind, while I was going to go get my snacks, you know, all nice and safe in my car, now I start thinking about this kid, you know, and I'm like, dang, what if that kid needed help? Like, what if he was trying to run away from somebody or something like that? You know, like, it started going through my head. Now, before everybody starts judging me, I'm sorry. I have to think about the world we live in today. This isn't like us living back in, okay, y'all know what generation I grew up at. I'm Gen X, you know. So that means I was born in the 70s, raised in the 70s and the 80s, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, and we live in a different world. Even though I grew up in Philadelphia, you know, I was in the city, in an urban city, and yes, there were dangers around, but not like today. Not like today. Let me tell y'all something. Let me explain to you how my mind works. My mind works like this, okay? It's probably from watching too much criminal shows, but I don't think so. Nope. First of all, people have a habit of just falling prey. You know, they become victim because the first thing they're assessing situations strictly with their eyes and not with their common sense, not with discernment. They're not thinking it through. And in these kind of situations, you have to react kind of fast. You got to think fast, be on your toes. And how I looked at that kid was, number one, you are a kid and you're going to get into my car. I'm going to take a perfectly good stranger and put them in my car. Because here's the thing. Let's say the kid was completely harmless. But I'm going to point out some things to y'all that maybe you didn't think about while I was telling you this story. I could have taken that kid to wherever down the street. Now, how do you know that kid wasn't planted there? Because he might be harmless, but what's waiting for me, wherever I'm going to take him, could be someone, and it's a setup. You know what I'm saying? Like, as he gets out the car, now someone gets in, or somebody, you know, pulls out a gun or something like that. That's number one. And this has been known to happen. I've seen videos of it. I've seen it on the news where sometimes kids and children or women are being used to lure people into a dangerous situation. Why? Because the human nature is for us to look at, oh, it's a child, it's a woman. So, you know, it's going to be okay. Or we trick ourselves into believing like, okay, it's a kid. If anything, and they try something funny, I can handle it. I can overpower them. But no, please don't do that. Don't do that. If you have done it, don't do it again, you know, because you just don't know. Then you got to remember about the situations with the air tags. You know how these people, cars, you know, you parked at Target or Walmart and people are tagging people's cars, you know, and then basically they're tracking you and then they follow you home and you don't even know you're being tracked. You see what I'm saying? That kid could have had an air tracker or something like that, dropped it, maybe there wasn't anything waiting for me at the other end, but he could have put a tag in there. And next thing I know, boom, somebody's tracking me. That's the other situation, right? The other situation is that, kids are kind of cruel sometimes, It could be a scenario where, okay, maybe there wasn't a setup. Maybe nobody was waiting for me at the other end of the street or something like that. What if this kid went home and said something like, not thinking like, oh yeah, tell their parents I got to ride home. Who'd you get a ride home with? And all of a sudden, your kid realized they in trouble. And guess what? Now you done made up a story. We see the Amber Alerts and, and stuff like that. I don't want no Amber Alert coming out saying, white, male, around the age of 12, seen getting into a black sedan or something like that. No. And last but not least, I know y'all going, this is the part y'all may not agree, but I'm telling it like it is. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I don't like to play the race card. I do not believe in that. But I, as a black woman living in America, I have to be on my P's and Q's for certain things. I just do. The last thing, for some people, it may be the last thing, but for me, it can be the first thing, the most important thing. I can't. I'm like, because if anything happens to that kid, I don't want somebody being like, y'all know. People will be like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I saw them get in the car and it was with a black person or whatever. And if something turns up bad with that kid and I'm put on trial or something like that, I know y'all like, Shine, you think about all this? Yes, I do. A lot of people are ready to be like guilty without even, you seen how our justice system works sometimes for minorities. I'm sorry. I have to be real. I have to be. I have to think like that. I do. Now, with all that said, and I have laid out almost every dangerous situation I could think of right now. I'm pretty sure I can think of plenty more. But what I'm saying is, some of you might be like, okay, Shy, Pinky, you done said all of that. But what if he just needed a ride home? Safe. Well, here's the thing. I thought about that. That kid was on my mind. And even on the way to the store, I literally started praying to God. I was like, God, I need for you to cover that kid. And I prayed that I did the right thing. When I got home from the store, I immediately called my dad. I was just like, Daddy, let me tell you what just happened. And after my father listened, I'm like, Dad, did I make the right decision? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, my dad was just like, I'm with you. I approve this message, and we went back over it and I told my dad all the different scenarios that popped up in my head at the time and the fears that I had, how it could have went wrong if it really was a scam. And my dad said, no, Shine. He said, unfortunately, and he said the same thing. He said, I hope that child is all right. But unfortunately, that is the world we're living in today. And my dad said it. He said there was a time that, an adult could, a child could have approached an adult to ask for help. Now, before y'all start saying stuff like, well, Shane, what if it was a little girl? What if it was this? What if it was that? I'm not talking about the other scenarios. I'm talking about this one that happened to me. And I don't know what I will do in a different scenario. That's like that whole entire saying, you will never know what you will do until you are actually in the situation faced with the problem. You know why? Because sometimes you can be in the face with the same scenario, but maybe in a different environment. Everything around you will determine what you will need to do. And in that situation, now I tell you the one thing that I could have did, because me and my dad was going over it and I was just like, Daddy, I feel like there's something I could have did. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to be safe, but what else could I have done? And then my friend that I was talking to on the way to the store, he said, well, you know what you could have did? He said, you could have called the police and just said, hey, there's a kid but see, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm too scared to call the police. I'll be like, I stay out of their way. I don't, yeah, I don't even know how this story ended. I tell you what happened to me though, because around, you know how everybody get them Amber Alerts on their phone. Do you know? And I cannot make this up. That very night, late night, I heard my phone vibrating because my phone goes to sleep at a certain time, but it will not. Like that's the only notification that will still come through if it's an Amber Alert. And when I saw the age of a male in Texas, my heart dropped. I was like, oh my God. Luckily, well, I shouldn't say luckily because there was a child still in danger, right? But it said 10-year-old Hispanic male, but it was in another city. I think it was Wilmer, Texas. Now, I don't live in nowhere near Wilmer, Texas. And you know what was crazy was that I actually had a sigh of relief, but at the same time, then I was mad at myself. I'm like, girl, you can't be sighing with relief. Sighing with relief because there's still a child out there in danger. But y'all know what I mean when the sigh of relief, it came from the fact that it wasn't the boy, because the boy I encountered was, like I said, between the ages of 10 and 12, white male, and he was clean cut or whatever. You know what I think happened? This is what I told my dad. You know what I think happened? Because I told y'all that I live in between two types of parks. So there's on to the right of me, there's a major park, and I'm talking about trails. Everybody's out there, like all hours, you know what I'm saying? And then you have the dog park, okay? You know what I think? Because that's the direction I think that kid was coming from. I think that young man was out at the regular park. He stayed too late. You know the rules. If you grew up in my generation, what was the rules? What was the rules? What your parents say? You better be back home before them street lights come on. Okay? My guess is that he might have stayed at the park too long. And yes, there are a ton of apartment complexes. Yes, there's street lights, but it's still dark. Like it might be one street light and it might be a while before you see the next one. It's dark, like pitch black. It's kind of creepy. If you walking out there, I don't know. And then on top of that, I was just like, and where was he coming from? Because I said he had 2 loaves of some type of baked goods or something wrapped in cellophane. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe he got scared. Was like, it's dark out here. Or maybe he's just a kid that's like, I don't feel like walking. Let me get a ride. Either way, let me tell you something about that. Number one, I was thinking to myself, where's your mama? And do your mom and dad know that you out here asking perfectly good straight? And here's the thing. He was at the call box. He's at the call box. So you was waiting for somebody to come out and you was just like, give me, and on top of that, what he said, down the street, near the park, near the apartment complex, he ain't tell me what apartment complex he came from or nothing. So do you see what I'm saying? All of this I had to think about immediately within seconds. I mean, I could have easily just, when he approached my car, just kept on driving, but I think that's what I'm trying to say. So the first I already had the first natural reaction. It is a child. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, okay, but that was as far as it's going to go. And let me tell you something. I'm paranoid. I started thinking about it already. I was like, oh my God, what if the car behind me, what if something happens to this kid and the car behind me be like, yeah, he was talking to somebody in a black sedan, blah, blah. That's how my mind thinks. If something had to happen to that kid. Now, I'm assuming that nothing has happened, whatever. God gave me that confirmation. I think because I was just like, God, God, I hope he is okay. I woke up the next day saying, I hope that kid is okay. God, please cover him, whatever. But I mean, I didn't see anything on our local news or whatever. And I mean, so yeah, I was very disturbed by that. What would you do and what would you have done in that situation? We're not talking about, like a kid that came up to you and they was, like running from somebody. You could see somebody running down the street behind them with a knife or a white van following them or whatever. No, he was calm. He wasn't scared. He was just like, ma'am, can you give me a rock? Like, no problem. And I was just shocked. And I was just like, dang, that's the world we live in. Now let's flip the script. We all would have got our behinds whipped, beat, spanked, whatever term you want to use. Y'all know what I mean. I'm not talking about child abuse. But back with our generation, that right there, let my dad have heard somebody say, you know, Shia, ask some person for a ride home. Y'all may not have ever known Pinky Hooks. My dad would have lit me up. It'd have been like, so you out there, first of all, you talking to strangers. Second of all, you approaching a car in the dark? Let's put that back in order. First of all, why are you out in the dark when you were supposed to be home before the street lights came on? That's the first and foremost. And you know, and I got a funny feeling that all families of all races do it, but just for kicks and giggles, I'm just gonna say, you know how we do, Black folk. And I'm pretty sure y'all probably have some in the Latino community too. You know, when a kid do something bad, the whole family network knows about it. Do something. And next time I go to visit my aunt or somebody like that, why everybody in the family know what I did? So it would have been all over the family network because they pick up that phone, something, girl, yes. Shia had the nerve to approach a car. Yeah, where she at? Yeah, I spanked her and sent her upstairs to bed and told her don't come back down until the alarm clock goes off and get ready for school. Like, they'll tell the whole story. But getting back on the topic. Yeah, it's a different generation. Because the children, that's apparent. That is so apparent that nobody in his family ever said anything. The fact that he felt so comfortable, he was not scared. It wasn't like he creeped up to the car. That was crazy. And you know what else I noticed too? Where was that kid's cell phone? If y'all saying, Cheyenne, maybe he just, come on. What kid do you know nowadays that don't have a cell phone? Especially that age. I'm not talking about, it don't have to be the latest and the greatest. It don't have to be like the $3,000 cell phone. Most kids have some, which I found that very strange. You know, he didn't even have a story like the kids at the park beat me up and took my cell phone. I lost it. The kids took the bully took my bike. Maybe he had a bike. I don't know. But he didn't say that. He just said, ma'am, hey, he was just like this. Like, hey, can you give me a ride down the street? No. Nah. Mm-mm. It was really creepy, but it bothers me that we do live in a world where we even have to assess situations when it comes to children. We got to think about this. And for the record, let's just say it wasn't a setup. Let's say that there wasn't anybody waiting or he dropped the air tag. Remember what I said. I said it looked like he had baked goods. You don't know, that kid could have stuck his fingers in there. He got a knife in there. I mean, we have to remember that kids nowadays really aren't kids sometimes. They're almost like little adults. I see social media, these kids, they come out and they look different. They talk different. They're very much aware. It's like talking to like little adults sometimes. It's so hard to find children that still resemble what a child should be, what they should sound like, what they should look like, and how they should act as a child. I'm sorry, I do. I look at these children like little adults, just waiting to just get bigger, to put on some bigger clothes. You don't know what's up their sleeves. What if that kid belonged to a gang or something, and it was his initiation? Did y'all think about that? Like, I'm literally, every day, I think of a new scenario, like of what this kid could have been about if it was on the bad side. Yeah. And it bothered me. It really bothered, and it's still bothering me. It's bothering me because I believe that this child is fine, but who's to say if even if it wasn't a setup, it bothers me for his own safety, not just for my safety or for the next person that's gullible and picks him up. I am bothered because I live in Texas. Now, I don't live in Houston. However, here's a fact. If you did not know, did you know that Houston, Texas is the #1 city in America for sex trafficking, human trafficking at that? So what I'm saying is Houston is about, I think, 4 or 5 hours away from where I'm at. Okay. So I live in Central. So basically, don't think for a second that, like they're not coming up this way to grab kids. That's what I was concerned about, because that kid asked for a ride. And there are devious women out there. Just because I'm a female doesn't mean that I'm not going to hurt like somebody. You know what I'm saying? Females go to jail. They're just as ruthless as the men nowadays. And I do think about that kid, and I really hope that that kid does not try that again. Because the next time somebody says, sure, I'll do it, and we all know how that can end. And it's scary, because I'm trying to remember his features and everything, because if I ever saw that kid and I saw them with their parent, I would tell. And parent be like, hey, your kid asked me for a ride. And if they try to just, they might just try to curse me out like, so, okay. But at least I did my part. But I am scared that that kid was that relaxed to ask a stranger for a ride. That's scary. I just wanted to tell y'all that story and see your feedback. Like, what would you have done? I pray that that kid does not do that anymore. Like I said, I really believe that he's fine. We didn't hear anything in the local news. I've been tuning in, looking at, like little local stories on MSN or whatever. Because, if he hadn't came home, they definitely would have, we would have heard about it. But yeah, that was just weird, y'all. And then I told my dad, I said, that's what I get for going out after dark, because I had worked from home on Monday. And so, see, procrastinating. Now, when I got off of work, it was broad daylight. It was still daylight, right? And I'm like, Shine, that's what you get for coming out in the dark. Like everything weird comes out in the dark. I wish that I had, because I wish it was a situation that I did not experience, because it has stuck with me all through the work week. I mean, yeah, I've been busy and everything, and I don't have a sick feeling that something happened to him, but I just wish I didn't. I wish that I was talking about something else. It bothers me, because he's not the only kid out there doing that. And I am coming to you as, like Pinky Hooks, but coming to you as Shania Lancaster and saying, hey, for most of my subscribers, most of y'all are in my age bracket. However, maybe your children are grown, but I'm sure plenty of y'all got nieces, nephews, grandchildren even. And I want to tell y'all, please, when y'all get some spare time, and I'm not. Please understand, I'm being so sincere when I say this to y'all. I feel like we've developed that relationship. I can say it to you, but take some time, while this video, maybe watch it with your kids, talk to your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, whatever, and just say, hey, just give them a little reminder. I know we're in this fast-moving pace world. I know technology is off the chain nowadays. I know these kids are like freaking 20 times smarter than we are, but that's in technology and certain things like that. But remember, I don't care how fast these kids are exposed to certain things that we all know they shouldn't be, they are still children, therefore still thinking like a child. They may sound like they sassy and they got it going on or whatever, but they're still children. And that boy proved that is what a child would do. Because the only adult that would do that is a crackhead. Not saying the child was going to crack. Y'all know what I mean. Sorry, God, I had to throw that in there. Y'all know what I mean. I'm serious. Have a talk. Just a kind reminder. Because when we was growing up in the 70s and 80s, remember when, TV only had 3 channels? Do y'all remember how you would look at a TV guide and it'd be like, tonight, tomorrow night, special edition of Different Strokes, special edition of Facts of Life, sit in with your parents. Every parent should watch this episode with their child. Remember when they would do that? and you knew it was something that you needed to watch with your child, the parent needed to watch with their child, and it was just like you let your child watch that TV show, like, Harry, do them dishes, we're going to sit down. Remember that? Because they would be showing an episode that was something that was, you know, to keep your child like, hey, this is why you don't talk to strangers. This is why you don't get, remember that? See, people don't do that no more. But Pinky Hooks just did it for you. That's right. Y'all sit down, y'all talk to y'all child something, please. Please don't have y'all just remind them. Yeah, we know you got a cell phone. We know we got the Ring doorbell service. We know we got cameras, you know, to see you come in the house. But remember, folks, no parent can be with their child 24/7. You need to equip your child to the fullest. Pray over your child for God to watch over your children when they are not in your sight. It is so important, please, because we're almost immune. How many of us can actually say that when we see those Amber Alerts go off on our phone, we get so many of them nowadays? This is what I see, and I'm guilty of doing it. Guilty as charged. When I'm at work, all of our phones will be going off, and somebody will be like, oh, it's just an Amber Alert. Because it's so many stories. It's just like shootings. Like, there's so many. You'd be like, did you hear about that shooting? You'd be like, which one? So we are in a situation where we're becoming immune to it. And this is why I was just like, maybe God put it on my heart to tell y'all about this, because it bothered me. It bothered me that some kid is out here asking perfectly good strangers. And tell your child, especially, or your grandchildren, especially if y'all have grandsons or nephews, especially the boys, tell them, hey, don't you ever, just because it's a female in the car. Because like I said, females are ruthless, and children are bred by nature. We don't intend to do it, but we do kind of make children believe that if you see a female, that somehow they're safer than a man. But like I said, we're in a different world and time than when we were growing up, when I was growing up. Because that would be the first thing that I would do. I would try to find, my dad would say, if somebody's bothering you, you find an adult. Now listen to what he said. You find an adult and you run to them. Preferably, being I'm a girl, my cousin, we were all together, you know, always together, me and my cousin Michelle, we would try to find a female first. But if all fails, yeah, okay, we're going to run to a male that looks safe. You can't even say that. You can't. So I'm not going to take up no more of your time. I'm sure that game done started. I really need to see this game. I don't know why I think this is going to be a good game. It's the Bengals and the Ravens. Normally I ain't for the Bengals, but for some reason this matchup got me interested. Yeah. So anyway, leave your comments below. Leave your comments below. And if y'all have grandchildren, children, nephews, hug them. Hug them. Tell them you love them. Yup. And tell them that they will be picking out their own switch or going to go get that belt. They pull some foolishness like that. Yes, tell them. So, all right. Well, if the camera looks lopsided because it cut off because, yeah, I ran out of storage and then I had to hurry up and edit this. So anyway, it don't matter. This is the last of the video. Until next time. Oh, before we go, on a different note, please go to the community tab for those of you who were looking for the stitches. I'm like, it's been sitting out there since Sunday, and I guess I was about to throw another one up, but I'm like, only 5 or 6 people have viewed it. And one of them people is me. So really only 4. It's the community tab. The community tab. That's for those of you who are interested in the stitch mark board. Okay. I know I probably shouldn't have added that on to this, but you know, whatever. I just killed 2 birds with 1 stone. All right. Until next time, you guys will be seeing from me, hearing from me this weekend. And to my winner, Cheryl, I have not forgotten about you. You know that this work week was busy, and I haven't forgotten about you. Okay. All right. Take care. Be safe, everyone. Love your family. Respect one another, and be blessed. That's it. Bye-bye.